Commander Tarek Voss gazed out at the vast debris field that had once been Outpost Helios. His weathered face remained stoic, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped the command rail of the UES Valiant. "Casualties?" he asked, voice steady despite the rage building within him. Lieutenant Corva Nix, his tactical officer, looked up from her console. Her violet eyes, a genetic modification common among those born in the low gravity of Europa, gleamed with unshed tears. 8,342 confirmed dead, sir. No survivors detected. This marked the 6th human colony annihilated in 3 months. The pattern was always the same. No warning, no demands, no survivors. The Drenthax Imperium had begun their purge of humanity from what they claimed as their ancestral territory. "They didn't even spare the children's habitation dome," whispered Ensign Lorimar, the young communications specialist. Voss closed his eyes briefly. "Send the confirmation to Fleet Command, and prepare a message drone for the Arcturus Protocol." The bridge fell silent. The Arcturus Protocol was theoretical, a final resort that many commanders considered too dangerous to even contemplate. "Sir," Corva questioned, "are you certain? Once activated—" "I'm aware of the implications, Lieutenant," Voss cut in, "but we've lost 6 colonies. The Drenthax aren't interested in negotiations or coexistence. They want us extinct." The Drenthax had emerged from the Sagittarius Arm 3 years ago, an ancient, technologically superior species with an unshakable belief in their divine right to reclaim territories their ancestors had once ruled millennia before humans had. Even discovered fire. Humanity, spread thin across 100 colonies, fought back with everything they had. But conventional weapons barely scratched the Drenthax warships, and their defenses seemed impenetrable. Deep in restricted space, in a system unmarked on public charts, orbited a facility known only to the highest echelons of Fleet Command. Project Draco had been humanity's most closely guarded secret for 40 years, a contingency that many hoped would never be needed. Within hours of Voss's message, Admiral Phoenix Kaldor stood before a quantum-encrypted terminal. His authorization unlocked protocols buried deep within the facility's AI core. "Begin awakening sequence," he commanded, voice rough with the weight of the decision. Beneath the surface of a barren moon, cryogenic chambers hummed to life. Medical systems initiated carefully calibrated revival sequences as status monitors flickered from dormant red to active blue. Inside the first chamber, eyelids flickered over eyes that hadn't opened in 4 decades. Muscles, preserved through periodic electrostimulation, tensed. A heart that had beaten only once per minute for 40 years began to accelerate. Dreyer Maelstrom, once the most decorated combat pilot in the Sol Defense Force, took her first conscious breath since volunteering for Project Draco. As awareness returned, she remembered the procedure, the gene splicing, the neural augmentations, the biomechanical enhancements that had transformed her and 11 others into something beyond human. The procedure had been experimental, dangerous, with a survival rate below 30%, but those who survived gained abilities that defied conventional science, accelerated healing, enhanced strength, tactical prescience, and most importantly, the unique neural pattern that allowed them to interface with the 12 prototype Dragon-class warships. Throughout the facility, 11 other chambers completed their revival sequences. 12 warriors, the last hope of humanity, awoke to a desperate situation they had been created to face. "Welcome back, Dragon Riders," Admiral Kaldor announced through the comms. "Humanity needs you. It's time to hunt." The Dragon-class vessels weren't ships in any conventional sense. Each was a unique biomechanical entity, a fusion of advanced technology and engineered organic systems, designed to function as extensions of their pilots' bodies. In appearance, they resembled colossal interstellar predators with metallic-scaled hulls and weapon arrays that mimicked draconic features. Drea stood before her dragon, codenamed Tempest, in the cavernous launch bay. The massive entity's synthetic musculature rippled beneath its hull as sensory systems detected her presence. Its forward section, reminiscent of a dragon's head, lowered toward her in recognition. "Hello, old friend," she whispered, placing her palm against the neural interface.
"Panel!"
The connection sparked instantly, Tempest systems merging with her consciousness in a rush of shared sensation. Nearby, her fellow dragon riders established their own connections. Cade River bonded with Thunderstrike, Loreth Vex with Shadowclaw, Makari Zenith with Stardancer, and 8 others followed suit, each communion unique yet unified in purpose. Admiral Kaldor addressed them from the command center as they prepared for deployment. The Drenthax believe they're eradicating a primitive species that poses no true threat, he explained, displaying tactical data of the enemy fleet movements. They've never encountered the dragons or anything remotely similar. Every other weapon we've deployed has failed to penetrate their defenses, but your neural interfaces allow combat reactions at speeds no conventional system can match. Oren Frost, the tactical specialist among the Dragon Riders, studied the enemy formations with cold precision. Their ships are arranged in standard hierarchical formations. They rely on centralized command structures. If we sever the control nodes, their response time will degrade substantially. Intel suggests their next target is New Cascadia, Calder continued. 15 million civilians. Your mission is to intercept and destroy their attack fleet before it reaches the colony. The dragons launched in sequence, accelerating to speeds that would crush conventional pilots. But the Dragon Riders, with their enhanced physiology and symbiotic connections to their vessels, experienced the tremendous forces as mere pressure. In neural-linked unison, they entered the quantum slip, a method of faster-than-light travel unique to the Dragon vessels. Unlike standard jump technology, which required precise calculations and established routes, the Dragons navigated the quantum realm through intuition, riding currents of probability guided by their pilot's intent. They emerged at the edge of the New Cascadia system just as the Drenthax fleet materialized. 27 warships in tight formation, centered around a massive command vessel nearly 2 kilometers in length. High Admiral Kravox of the Drenthax Imperium felt only contempt as his sensors detected 12 small vessels approaching his fleet. The primitives were becoming desperate, sending such a paltry force against his might, he would crush them as an afterthought before cleansing this system of the human infestation. "Dispatch third-tier interceptors," he ordered dismissively. "Continue. Primary approach vector to the colony." 6 Drenthax vessels broke formation, accelerating toward the dragons with weapons charging. They expected an easy victory against the seemingly insignificant human craft. They were wrong. The dragons moved with impossible agility, their biomechanical structures flowing and twisting in ways no conventional ship could match. Tempest, with Drya merged into its systems, corkscrewed between enemy weapon bursts, retaliating with concentrated pulses from recessed energy nodes that punctured the lead Drenthax vessel's shields as if they weren't there. For the first time in this war, a Drenthax ship exploded in combat. The remaining interceptors adjusted tactics, attempting to coordinate their attacks. But the dragons operated on a different level. Their pilots enhanced neural systems, processing combat data at superhuman speeds, anticipating enemy moves before they occurred. Within minutes, all 6 interceptors had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The Drenthax fleet halted its advance, sensors focusing on the threat they had so fatally underestimated. High Admiral Kravox stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 6 vessels, elite Drenthax warships that had survived countless battles, destroyed in mere minutes by unknown craft that defied conventional analysis. "Full sensor sweep," he commanded, voice tight with the unfamiliar sensation of uncertainty. What are these weapons? His science officer Trelvok worked frantically at his station. Unknown configuration, Admiral. They appear partially organic in structure, yet they generate energy signatures beyond our measurement scales. Their movements, they anticipate our targeting systems with perfect precision. Krivox's six-fingered hand clenched into a fist. Deploy the full battle group. Destroy them. Across the void, the Dragon Riders observed the enemy formation shifting. They're adapting, Makari communicated through the neural link that connected. All 12 pilots, spreading out to prevent concentrated strikes. Good, replied Cade, his Dragon Thunderstrike's sensory apparatus already mapping firing solutions. Let's show them what happens when you threaten human worlds. The dragons accelerated toward the Drenthax fleet, no longer a unified formation, but 12 individual hunters. Each dragon's specialized capabilities came into play as they executed a coordinated assault unlike anything the Drenthax had encountered. Lorith, Vex, and Shadowclaw vanished from conventional detection. The dragons.
Soon and hik gerir korla hadro nuker as kein netrneiseren dan usa rel Janna arter the sutter ugerbenefa asa el semle para shurtu puff elansis for now hala bahila fe us.
Shadowclaw's hull extruded specialized penetrator filaments that attached to a Drenthax cruiser's engine section, bypassing shields to inject nanoscale disruptors directly into critical systems. The cruiser's engines detonated in a spectacular cascade, taking 2 adjacent vessels with it. Across the battlefield, Oren Frost's Dragon Frostbite deployed its specialized electronic warfare suite, sending precisely calibrated signal pulses that scrambled Drenthax targeting systems. Enemy weapons fired harmlessly into empty space while the dragons closed for kills. Drea and Tempest dove directly toward the Drenthax flagship, drawing concentrated fire from its defensive batteries. Tempest's scaled hull absorbed the energy, converting it through specialized organelles into additional power for its primary weapon system. Targeting their bridge, Drea communicated, as Tempest's forward section opened to reveal its primary armament, a modified singularity projector that compressed space-time into a destructive pulse. The blast struck the flagship's forward shields, which held for precisely 2.3 seconds before collapsing. The energy continued through, carving a perfect hole through 12 decks. On the Drenthax bridge, alarms blared as systems failed. High Admiral Kravox was thrown to the deck as atmospheric containment breached. Impossible, he hissed through. Emergency breathing apparatus. They're just humans, savages barely out of their caves. His tactical officer, bleeding from a head wound, looked up with fear evident even through Drenthax stoicism. Admiral, we're detecting quantum communications from these craft. They're calling for reinforcements. In the distance, space distorted as more Dragon-class vessels emerged from quantum slip, not 12, but hundreds. The second wave of Project Draco had arrived, piloted by crews who lacked the neural enhancements of the original 12, but were still deadly. Effective. For the first time in the war, the Drenthax fleet began a full retreat. The Grand Council of the Drenthax Imperium convened in emergency session aboard the orbital citadel of Drenvorta Prime. Ancient nobles and military commanders filled the tiered chamber, voices raised in unprecedented alarm. 6 fleets destroyed in 14 days, War Master Kelvorth announced, projecting battle records above the central dais. These human dragons have changed everything. They're hunting our outposts systematically. High Counselor Vrentax leaned forward, multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic displays. How did we miss this capability in our initial assessments? Our intelligence indicated the humans possessed nothing that could penetrate our defenses. Because they didn't, responded Science Director Mevlox. "These weapons, these dragons, are unlike anything we've encountered. Analysis of debris suggests they were developed in secret, possibly decades ago, and kept dormant until needed." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. A species that creates its ultimate weapons but doesn't deploy them immediately, mused Elder Zinvex, the oldest member of the council. That shows both strategic patience and moral restraint, qualities we dismissed in humans. Warmaster Kelvorth bristled. "They are still inferior. These 12 enhanced pilots cannot stand against our entire Imperium." 27, corrected Mevlox quietly. "What? We've now confirmed 27 uniquely enhanced pilots, and their numbers are growing. Each operates at combat efficiency levels that exceed our best tacticians by orders of magnitude. Additionally, they've begun deploying conventionally crewed versions of these vessels in increasing numbers." Across the galaxy, the tide had indeed turned. The dragons struck with precision and overwhelming force, targeting Drenthak's military installations while deliberately avoiding civilian populations. A mercy the Drenthaks had never shown to humans. On the contested world of Proxima Centauri IV, Dragon Rider Taven Arcturus stood amid the ruins of what had been a major Drenthak's military base. His dragon, Helios Ban, loomed protectively nearby, its biomechanical system still cooling from the recent battle. A group of human colonists approached cautiously, still unable to believe their deliverance. A woman stepped forward, her young daughter clutching her hand. "Are you really human?" she asked, staring at Taven's subtly altered physiology, the reinforced skeletal structure visible beneath his skin, the enhanced musculature, the eyes that shifted colors as specialized. Receptors analyzed his surroundings. Taven knelt to the child's level. "Yes, just upgraded a bit." The girl reached out tentatively to touch his hand. "The bad aliens said humans were weak, but you beat them." "We were never weak," Taven replied gently. "We were patient. There's a difference." Aboard the Drenthaks council chamber, the debate had turned to survival. "We must sue for peace," Elder Zinvex insisted. "These humans have demonstrated they could eradicate our civilian worlds just as we eradicated theirs. Yet they deliberately target only military assets. They're offering us a chance to end this honorably." Warmaster Kelvorth spat in disgust. "The Imperium does not surrender to inferiors. The inferiors have destroyed half our fleet," High Councillor Vrentax observed dryly. "Perhaps our assessment of their status requires revision." The chamber's security alert suddenly blared as sensors detected a quantum distortion directly outside the Citadel. View screens activated automatically to show a single Dragon-class vessel maintaining position less than a kilometer from the council chamber, close enough to destroy it with a single shot. Communication systems activated without Drenthak's authorization. A human face appeared on the main display, Drya Maelstrom, her enhanced eyes glowing faintly as she addressed the stunned council. "The Drenthak's Imperium will cease all hostilities against human worlds immediately," she stated, her voice calm but unyielding. "You have 1 hour to transmit your unconditional surrender on all frequencies." 1 year after the Drenthak surrender, humanity found itself in an unprecedented position. From the brink of extinction, they had emerged not just victorious, but suddenly recognized as a major power in the galactic community. The Dragon Riders had become legends, symbols of humanity's indomitable will and remarkable foresight. Yet for the 12 originals, the transition to peacetime proved complex. Drya Maelstrom stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching construction drones rebuild what had once been a devastated colony. Her enhanced vision could pick out individual workers moving among the partially completed structures far below. "Admiring your handiwork," asked a familiar voice. She turned to see Cade River approaching, his movements fluid, despite the extensive combat damage his body had sustained during the final battles. Like all the original Dragon Riders, his physiology had been permanently altered by the deep neural connection to his dragon. "Wondering what comes next," she replied. "We were weapons created for a specific purpose. That purpose is fulfilled." Cade leaned against the railing beside her. "The Directorate wants us as diplomats now. Apparently, having humans who can tear battleships apart with specialized biotech makes for convincing negotiators." Drea smiled faintly. "And the dragons?" "Being studied. The technology is transforming everything: medicine, transportation, construction. Tempest's regenerative systems alone have revolutionized treatment for conditions previously considered untreatable." Below them, a group of children played in a newly constructed park. One looked up, pointing excitedly as she recognized the distinctive silhouettes of the two dragon riders against the observation windows. Others joined in, waving enthusiastically. Drea waved back, feeling an unexpected tightness in her throat. "We saved them," Cade said quietly. "All of them." The door to the observation deck slid open, admitting Admiral Kaldor. Age had etched deeper lines into his face during the war, but victory had restored something of his vigor. "I'm not interrupting a moment, am I?" he asked. "Just contemplation," Drea replied. "What brings you here, Admiral?" "Two things. First, the Drenthax Transitional Council has requested a formal diplomatic meeting with Dragon Rider representatives. It seems our former enemies are reassessing several thousand years of cultural assumptions about species hierarchy." Cade raised an eyebrow. "And the second, we've received a transmission from the Orion Alliance. They've observed our conflict with the Drenthax and wish to establish contact. Apparently, humanity's restrained use of overwhelming force impressed them." Drea turned back to the viewport, gazing beyond the colony toward the stars. "So we've joined the galactic community not as supplicants, but as powers." "Indeed," Kaldor confirmed. "And the Alliance mentioned something interesting. They've been watching Earth for centuries, assessing whether we would eventually become a threat or an ally. Our development of the dragons concerned them until they saw how we used them. Could have exterminated the Drenthax," Cade noted. "Many wanted to, but we didn't," Drea said firmly, "because whatever we've become, whatever they made us into, we're still human at our core." Across the solar system, in a secure facility, orbiting Jupiter, Tempest, and the other dragons, underwent maintenance and study. Scientists marveled at the symbiotic technology that had saved their species. Organic computing systems that learned and evolved, hull materials that self-repaired, weapons that operated on principles they were only beginning to understand. Within Tempest's core consciousness, memories of battle remained fresh: the exhilaration of flight, the perfect communion with Drea, the satisfaction of protecting human worlds. But new sensations were developing too: curiosity about peaceful applications of its capabilities, interest in exploration rather than combat. In the administrative center of the Drenthax Imperium, now reformed as a constitutional federation, Elder Zinvex supervised the final revisions to the peace accord. The document acknowledged the sovereignty of human space and established protocols for cooperation between species once dedicated to destroying each other. "We believed ourselves apex predators in this galaxy," he told his young aides as they worked. "We were wrong. Remember this lesson: never mistake patience for weakness, preparation for fear, or restraint for inability. The humans did not develop the dragons in desperation. They created them long before they needed them, then kept them leashed until absolutely necessary." He gazed thoughtfully at an image of Earth displayed on his monitor. "Any species that creates dragons but chooses when to wake them is not to be underestimated. In Earth orbit, construction began on a memorial to those lost in the Drenthax attacks. At its center stood statues of 12 figures, the original dragon riders who had sacrificed their humanity to ensure humanity's survival. Beneath them, a simple inscription read, "We slept until needed. We fought when called. We remain vigilant." And deep in secure hangars throughout human space, new dragons waited, sentinels of a peace hard-won and fiercely protected, ready to awaken should the stars ever again bring threat to human worlds. Drea placed her hand on the viewport, feeling the distant connection to Tempest even across millions of kilometers. "We named our weapons after mythical beasts," she whispered, "but the true dragons were always us, humanity itself. We slumbered in the galaxy's consciousness, dismissed as insignificant, until we weren't." Outside the station, the stars continued their ancient dance, now watched by eyes that had proven worthy of their light.